What do we make of the first week of the Maple Leaf season, and how much longer will it take for Auston Matthews to find his scoring touch? We'll discuss that and more on today's edition of the Locked On Leafs podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network. It's your team every day.
You're Locked On Maple Leafs, your daily podcast on the Toronto Maple Leafs. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.
Hello and welcome into the Locked On at Leafs podcast, a daily Maple Leaf-centric podcast hosted by myself, Mike DiStefano, and my co-host, Dave Morassutti. Today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. Place your first $5 bet and you'll get started with $200 in bonus bets guaranteed. Visit FanDuel.com to get started. What's going on, Dave? How are we feeling on a Tuesday coming off the long weekend, buddy?
Well, feeling a lot better than Jerry Jones is, I'll tell you that much.
Oh, brother. Yeah. That guy's not feeling good at all after what we witnessed the other night. Dallas getting just their asses handed to him, to say the least. But hey, Leaf fans have been there. Leaf fans have been there where their team's gotten absolutely walloped for absolutely no reason. Remember that? Was it like 7-1 or 8-1, 7-0? That lost to Pittsburgh a couple of years ago where they basically played like the Penguins farm team and just got demolished. That was such a terrible hockey game. Whenever I think of like bad Leafs losses, like that's one of them. I mean, yes, there's a David Ayres game and there's like all these, collapses, but that was like just like a regular season game where it's like, how the hell did you A, lose, B, get destroyed by the Wilkes-Barre Penguins?
Yeah. Oh, I'll never forget that game. I was calling. Let's just say I remember that game. I think that was on Hockey Night. Was that one on Hockey Night in Canada?
Yeah, it was. Yeah.
I was calling for firing straight. I was like, if there was a microphone in front of me that night, I mean, there would have been some podcast content gold that night because, I remember being so pissed.
We should try and do some live game podcasts and try and get the raw emotions of Dave Morassutti. Let us know in the comment section below. Would you like that? Would you want to get the live reaction pod to Maple Leafs hockey from Dave Morassutti? Let us know. All right, let's get into today's podcast. Got a couple things we got to talk about. First and foremost, we'll kind of update everybody on what's the latest in Maple Leaf land. We'll our takeaways from practice yesterday on Monday. And then we're going to debut a new segment called Fraud or For Real / Panic or Patience. Basically, I've got a bunch of statements or some stats and facts from the first week of the NHL season. And Dave's got to tell me whether or not these stats or situations are fraudulent or are they for real, right? Or is there panic, or should we be preaching patience? It's kind of a mishmash of those depending on what the question is, negative or positive. But we'll do that in a little bit. But I want to get to some takeaways from practice yesterday because I thought that there were some notable things that had gone on. Dave, the first and probably biggest note I would say coming out of Maple Leafs practice yesterday is that Oliver Ekman-Larsson continued taking reps on the first power play unit. Looks like OEL on PP1 is a go, my friend.
It is finally a go. We saw a glimpse of it in the game on Saturday, and it just we talked about it a little bit the other. We didn't really expand on it, but it's just like it's about time. Like honestly, it was just about time. Like and not just OEL on the power play, Matthew Nyes on the power play, technically taking Tavares' spot, which again, don't hate that either. You need these different elements on the power play.
Yeah, Tavares wasn't at practice yesterday, so I wonder if it was a placeholder type of thing, or if Nyes is going to get a legitimate opportunity to be on PP1. I'd welcome the change. Not that Tavares is bad, like that's he's one of the best when it comes to being right in front of the net and down low. But hey, it gives you a bit of a different look, right? Something that's been so terrible, 0 for 9 to start the year. Sometimes just got to change things up to change up the mix, change up the mojo. I know the Maple Leafs aren't really keen on changing things up and changing up the mix here, but perhaps with the power play, they're willing to do it. And I think that's Sheldon Keefe did not change things up this quick, right? Like especially for something like a power play, he was pretty stuck to his guns on what he felt was going to work and eventually kind of burst through and bleed through. That's another kind of difference that I guess we're noticing from Berube, where if something's not working, he doesn't mind. He'll switch it up. He doesn't let pride get in the way, I suppose, which is a good thing about a coach.
No, that's true, right? And so, like, we know that this Leafs power play, people say, oh, it's had success in the regular season. But then when the playoffs came around and Boston put the clamps down on it, guess what? That moment there showed other teams around the league, this is how you defend against the Leafs power play, right? So now everyone's got footage on it. Everyone's figuring out their game plans around it. Things have to change. Things had to change because the book was out. And so when things were gone back to how it was to start when this year started with how things went off the past few years, I'm like it's not going to be good enough, right? Unless you completely change the formula, which I thought was going to happen when Mark Savard was brought in, right? We heard a lot about what he has done.
Yeah. I mean, I think they are doing a little bit more,
Yeah.
doing some a little bit different things, like different setup and system and a different philosophy, but it just hasn't pulled through yet, ultimately. But now that OEL's in tow, he's I would say he's a like much bigger threat as a point shot, in terms of having that big thunderous clapper. But he could sift the wrister through traffic, just as good as anyone else in the league can. So, hopefully that works out, whether it's finding the back of the net with some traffic in front, or, it's just hitting something on goal. You're hitting pillows and they're popping out, and the Leafs can get some rebound, greasy rebound goals that pop out into the slot or something. Since 2013-14, Dave, fun fact. So the last 10 plus years, Oliver Ekman-Larsson ranks second in power play goals in the NHL to only Roman Jost. He's got 57 power play goals since that season, which is second most in the NHL. So, it's a pretty good player to be able to slide in there to PP1. He's had a lot of success throughout his career. Hopefully, he can continue that this year with the Maple Leafs. All right, another piece of news to take away from Maple Leafs practice. Looks like Timothy Liljegren might be getting into his first game. He skated alongside Simon Benoit. So looks like Timmy Lils might get some action on Wednesday, Dave.
Yeah, and Craig Berube had some positive things to say about Timothy Liljegren, saying that he's liked what he has seen from him in practice. And this is a situation where if the Leafs are considering a trade, right, and considering moving him, you can't sit him. He has to play.
Yeah.
Otherwise, you're doing neither side really any favor by not playing him. So I understand probably it's very frustrating. I know a lot of people are frustrated with how the situation is going. Timothy Liljegren spoke about it. Wasn't exactly happy or cheery, right? I wouldn't be either if I was sitting out, right?
Yeah.
But it's a bit for him. It's a bit of a reality wake up call, right? And for the Leafs, it's also okay. What's the plan? And I like that he's going to get into a game. There was an argument before that he probably wasn't the right choice to play right now because there are other players who had been playing better. But this is the opportunity now. You have a bit of depth. You might as well use it.
Yeah, no, exactly. And look, I think this is an opportunity for him to kind of do what Nick Robertson did in preseason, where it was, hey, you want to get traded? Like make a name for yourself. Make people call me and ask, hey, well, what do you want for this guy? Right? Like make it worth it for us to trade you, because right now we're not getting offers, we're not getting calls, we're not getting anything. So go out there, put on a performance, and show everyone else that, hey, I'm worth investing in. So hopefully, he can do that in his first game action if he ends up playing on Wednesday. It wasn't technically stated that he's going to play. I think even when asked, Craig Berube said there's a chance he could play.
Yeah.
Didn't specifically say, but skating with Benoit at practice. Timmins was was he with Myers? Yeah, Timmins
Yeah.
was with Myers. So that tells us that it's more than likely that we're going to see Timothy Liljegren playing on Wednesday. Joseph Wall also skated on his own before the practice on Monday. Will attempt to skate with the team later today when they go. And if all goes well, he is eligible to technically come off of the IR Wednesday and play that game. But Craig Berube also did say that they're in no hurry, no rush to rush, I guess, an injury, especially to their goaltender, Joseph Wall. And he could do that because Stolarz has looked good and Hildeby has looked good, and they don't play a lot of hockey this week. So they don't really have to rush Joseph Wall into anything. They can give him that extra, half a week or so because they only play 2 games between now and I think Monday, next Sunday. So they got the game Wednesday, Saturday, and then they got another game on Monday. So, there's just not a lot of hockey this week. No need to rush Wool. So I don't expect for him to play on Wednesday. I think it'd be smart for them to kind of just take their time with this one.
Yeah, there's goalies kind of around the league that are dealing with little things can become big things.
Yeah,
and teams just like you look at Ottawa, they not play Allmark because he was dealing with stiffness. So people think, stiffness, you should be able to play through that. It's just like we don't know what the stiffness is, where it's impacting them, and you just don't want something to be, let's say he did play and he got hurt and he got injured further. Now people are gonna be like, well, why did you play him if he wasn't 100%, right? So this is the time of the year where there's no need to push something that doesn't need to be, right? Teams always say if it was the playoffs, he probably could play, right? But it's not the playoffs, so we don't need to worry about that.
Exactly. We're game 3, game 4, game 5 of 82. Like don't gotta rush the guy into game action. Can be cautious with this one. Anything else that you had any more takeaways from practice yesterday?
No, don't think there was really anything else that really stuck out.
Yeah, I think we hit on it all. We covered it all. Good stuff. All right, let's come back and let's get into the new segment. Fraud or for real? Panic or patience? We'll start with the Maple Leaf centric segment, and then in the third one, we'll kind of do it league wide and talk about what's going on around the NHL through the first week. So that's coming up next here on the Locked On Leafs podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network. It's your team every day. Today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. Hey, NHL fans, you can start the season with a big return on FanDuel. It's North America's #1 sportsbook, so when you get a hunch in the middle of a game, you can check out the latest stats, view live play-by-play, and so much more on the same page where you placed your bets. You'll get started with $200 in bonus bets guaranteed when you place your first $5 bet. That's all on FanDuel.com. Welcome back into the Locked On Leafs podcast. Mike DiStefano, Dave Morassutti with you as we are each and every weekday, Monday through Friday. It is all Leafs all the time here in the Locked On Leafs podcast, available wherever you get a podcast. And you can also find the video version up on YouTube. If you enjoy what you're listening to and you want to be alert and noted about everything going on with the Maple Leafs all season long, make sure you're subscribed to the Locked On Leafs podcast for daily Maple Leafs coverage. All right, Dave. I thought of this segment, and we're gonna call it fraud or for real. And we'll start with the Maple Leafs. Okay, so I've got 5 kind of stats or statements or something, and you got to tell me if this is fraudulent, what we're seeing at this point, or if you think this is for real. All right.
Okay.
First one. Auston Matthews, not only goalless, but pointless through 3 games. Is this a concern? Is this fraudulent, or is there for real a concern?
Fraudulent. Like, it'd be one thing if he wasn't okay. The first game we didn't see the Auston Matthews we were expecting. But the last few games, you're starting to see him get into, the scoring areas, getting opportunities. And frankly, also in the Saturday against Pittsburgh, it was Matthew Nyes and it was Brent Marner that led the charge a little bit. So I think it will come. I think in a few years ago, he went pointless in the first few games of the season, and then
It's his MVP season.
yeah. So I think I'm okay if he decides I'm gonna go into MVP mode really soon.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a fraudulent start. Like you're not worried about it at all. Like he's getting his chances. That's the thing. Like if it looked bad, then we'd be worried. Like if he wasn't getting his chances and he was kind of just lazing around and it was like pure Luke Dubois-esque where it's like, what is this guy doing this year? Then there would be some for real concerns. But no, he still looks good. And he had like 8 shots on goal the other night, and I think 4 of them were considered high danger shots, high danger chances. So, he's getting his looks and he's working for it. And that line in particular finally broke through as well, scoring a couple of goals, like you said, with Marner and Nyes. It's only a matter of time before his start to drop as well. I mean, you're not a 2x 60 goal scorer by accident, right? The talent is there. It'll eventually start to come for him. All right, fraud or for real, Dave? The Maple Leafs power play.
I'm gonna go for real. The way it's going, or I guess that's how what's going on right now is for real.
Yeah, it's 0 for 9. It's 0 for 9. Like, are they? Is this a bad power play?
Until they start changing their ways and playing with the urgency that they need to play, I'm gonna say so. Nothing right now. Nothing's telling me that it's going to change because they're still lazily going into the zone, not really playing with a lot of purpose, doing a lot of things that Craig Berube doesn't like, as we've heard him say. So, yeah, I'm going to say right now, it's what we're seeing is it's an issue.
Yeah, I mean, they're 0 for 9. Like they haven't scored a single power play goal. They've had 3 scored on them. So the fact that they're they got a winning record despite losing in the special teams battles is surprising. But I mean, look, I think that this is definitely a concern, and it's only a concern. Like it's only 3 games, but it also is just a continuation of last year, right, where it completely fell off a cliff at the end of the season. And then the playoffs, they were just so bad on the power play also. And then it just continued into the year, and they decided to go back with the same 5. I will say, I think that there is some slight hope again with this change with Oliver Ekman-Larsson. I think you bring him in; he's a better puck mover. He can shoot a little better. He's willing to shoot. He had 10 shot attempts the other night playing against the Pittsburgh Penguins, so he's willing to actually shoot the puck. So teams might have to come out and actually defend the point for once, which could open up some other stuff, in the peripherals and down low. So, that is one thing that I think could be a difference maker, I suppose, for the power play. I guess we'll have to wait and see if it all comes to fruition on Wednesday. All right. Auston Matthews as a regular penalty killer, Dave. Is this fraudulent or is this for real? Auston Matthews is a regular penalty killer.
I'm going to say for real because he talked about it being something he's wanted to do for a while. Right?
Hey, man, I've wanted to do a lot of things for a while. I have wanted to play in the NHL. I want to be a general manager. I want to do a lot of things for a while. It's not happening. It's not happening, though.
I know, but it's not like he's going to be the first one they send out there for the penalty kill. He's doing the mop up duty. He's doing the top power play unit's a little tired, or they're, they've been out there for a while. Throw out Auston Matthews and Mitch Marner together and see what happens. But like we're seeing it across the league. Top players are playing on the penalty kill because instead of defending for the whole 2 minutes, force the other team to have to defend a little bit.
Yeah.
So I don't mind it. I just don't. Yeah, look, he's already blocking shots on 5-on-5. The guy blocked the most shots for forwards last year.
Yeah.
So people are like, I don't want him blocking shots. He already does it. So
I
really,
know.
what's
I
different?
know.
And he's good on the face-off, which is another skill you need on there.
Good point. Good point. Yeah, you get a 60% face off, man. You win that draw in your own end and move the puck out really quickly. That's a good point too. And when you move the puck out, well, you got Matthews and Marner going the other way. Not a bad combination. I'm with you. I think this is for real. You look at the time that he's getting out there. It's not just a quick spell here and there like he was getting last year. Last season, he averaged 43 seconds a game of shorthanded ice time. This year, he's averaging a minute 49 a game. So, like a full minute, 6 seconds more. That's like 2-3 full shifts of shorthanded time where they, pretty quick shifts usually. So I think that he for sure is getting a real look. And he's big, he's strong, and Berube seems to like that. Lane Lambert, who's doing the penalty kill, seems to like what Auston Matthews is giving him on the shorthanded. So yeah, I think it's for real also. All right. Oliver Ekman-Larsson as a bona fide top 4 defenseman.
For real.
You think this is real? You think OEL's a bona fide top 4 guy?
I think so. I understand last year in Florida he wasn't, but Florida's team had a lot of good defensemen, right?
It's not just last year in Florida. It's last year in Florida, the year before that in Vancouver, and the year before that in Vancouver. So we're talking 3 straight years where this guy has not been a bona fide top. He's playing top 4 role, top 4 minutes, but I mean, that's like Simon Benoit did that last year. He was not a bona fide top 4.
I see Oliver Ekman-Larsson as a player that is he the first guy I'm going to put out there in the last minute of a game? There's some guys I probably would put ahead of him for sure, but he's not far off, right? I think on this Leafs team, he is definitely a bona fide top 4. And if he can start adding in the offense to it.
Man, I just got to pause. I just got to stop there. You said on this team.
Mm-hmm.
That we can't have qualifiers. To be a bona fide top 4, you've got to be a top 4 on every team in the league.
I still
not
think
just for the Maple Leafs, or he will be in the top 4 for the season, but like he is good enough to be a top 4 anywhere he plays.
I think from what we're seeing from him this year, there are a lot of teams that could use a Oliver Ekman-Larsson in their top 4.
All right.
I'm not saying it's, putting him on the top pairing. Second pairing, you can definitely do a lot worse than Oliver Ekman-Larsson.
You can. I'm going to say it's a bit fraudulent for now. I still need to see more. It's been a good first 3 games, but as the season wears on, I'd like to see how he performs. So far through 3 games, he's got 1 assist. He's got 11 shots on goal. He's averaging 22 minutes a night, 3 hits, 3 blocks, 4 hits. So that's the stat line right now, which is pretty good. But again, I'm not there yet, I guess, is what I'll say. There's still some scar tissue from what I saw from him when he was in Vancouver for a couple of years. So I guess I'd want to wait before calling him a bona fide top 4 defenseman. He's looked good so far. Don't get me wrong. He's looked really, really good. And he's looked like a top 4 defenseman, but it's only 3 games. I'm not quite there yet to say that he's hit that marker. All right, last Leaf-related one, and then we'll take a break and we'll go league-wide with some of these. All right, Anthony Stolarz as a 1A goaltender. Fraud or for real? 1A.
Right now, I'm going to say a little fraudulent. I want to see more. Again, he hasn't done it in his career. This is the first time he's really been put through this. Really good, yes. Really good first start in Montreal. Didn't go his way because the Leafs couldn't score. Yeah. Against the Penguins, he was pretty good, but it wasn't perfect, right? So I want to see more before I definitely give the 1A to Stolarz. I know a lot of people in the Discord, they thought he was going to be the 1A right through the offseason.
Yeah.
I still think I want to see, like, he's played against Montreal and Pittsburgh. I want to see him go up against some tougher competition before I give the thumbs up on 1A to him.
Yeah. And I mean, sometimes too, like follow the money. Like they paid Wall what 3 does he make it 3.8 million?
This year, I believe
Yeah.
so.
So they paid him 3.8 and they paid Stolarz 2.5. So like they paid Stolarz believing that he was not going to be their 1A, believing that he is their 1B at best, if not
So
backup.
Stolarz 2.5 over this year, next year, 3.6 for Wool. Starting
3.6. Okay, so 3.6. So, the Leafs tell us that they believe that Stolarz should be their 1B if all things are good and healthy in the world. They're not currently right now. But he's played well. He's definitely played well. But yeah, I think we need to see him against some more stiffer competition before anointing him as this team's top dog and taking the mantle from Joseph Woll. All right, let's take a break. We'll come back and we'll get into some more league-wide fraud or for reals. A couple of panic or patience coming in as well when we get to the situations going on around the league, Dave. There's a couple teams out there that I'm sure are a little worried about how things have started. And one of those teams has a guy on their team that rhymes with Schmoner, Schmidt, Fabid. We'll talk about that next here on the Locked On Leafs podcast. Guys, sometimes intimate moments happen spontaneously, and we always want to be ready so we can perform in the bedroom. Hims provides access to treatments that can help you stay hard and last longer, giving you that boost of confidence so you can be ready whenever the mood strikes. Hims is changing men's healthcare, providing you with access to affordable sexual health treatments from the comfort of your couch. Hims provides access to a range of doctor-trusted ED treatments like chewable hard mints and Viagra, Cialis, and they're generic for up to 95% cheaper. The process is 100% online, so there's no need for uncomfortable doctor's visits. Just answer a series of questions on their website, and a medical provider will determine the right treatment option for you. If prescribed, your medication ships directly to you in discreet packaging for free. No insurance is needed, and one low price covers everything from treatments to ongoing care. And with hundreds of thousands of trusted subscribers, Hims can help you find the ED treatment that works for you. Start your free online visit today at hims.com/lockedon. That's HIMS.com/lockedon for your personalized ED options. hims.com/lockedon. Welcome back into the Locked On at Least podcast. Mike DiStefano, Dave Morassutti with you here on the show as we are each and every weekday, Monday through Friday. Find us on the Locked On Least podcast, available wherever you get a podcast and up on YouTube. All right, Dave, the Maple Leafs are 2-1 through 3 games and sitting pretty. I think the Leafs are quite happy with their performance and how they've played over the course of the first, few games under Craig Berube. Probably wish that they scored at least a goal in Montreal and they'd be 3-0. That said, they're still pretty happy with their performance through the first week, I would say, of the 24-25 NHL season. A couple other teams can't say the same for Dave. So we'll go around the league, and this one we're gonna switch up a bit. Panic or patience on this one, Dave?
Okay.
Panic or patience on the 0-3 Oilers?
Ooh, panic.
Panicking on the Oilers, the betting favorites to win the Stanley Cup, and there's panic after 3 games.
You got a $9 million Darnell Nurse who cannot. They are saying that they need a D partner to lift him up in Edmonton right now.
Tough. That's a tough thing to say.
What can they do, right? Like, they made a lot of moves in the offseason. The one area they did not address properly was the blue line. They let Cody Ceci go, and now that blue line's falling apart. When you let go Cody Ceci and your blue line's falling apart, that I think is more of a statement of how the shape of your blue line. Like, in my opinion, that blue line was never good enough, in my opinion, with
Yeah.
how. And Stuart Skinner went on an unbelievable run last year that I didn't know if it was going to be sustainable. And that's why we're seeing the similar stuff that happened last year. Now, do they have time to turn around? Of course they do. But the guys they need to turn it around, I don't know if they're going to be able to do it.
Patience. Be patient, Dave. You gotta be. I mean, this team started out 2-9-1 last year and took the Florida Panthers to a Game 7 of the Stanley Cup Finals. Relax, relax. This team will be fine. They've got Connor McDavid, Leon Draisaitl, Zach Hyman, Evan Bouchard, Ryan Nugent-Hopkins. They've got the guys who can win hockey games. I'm not worried about the Edmonton Oilers. 0-3. All right, whatever. Now they've lost to some pretty bum teams. That is kind of the concerning part. They lost to the Flames. They got rocked by the Jets opening night. And they lost to the Blackhawks this past weekend, which cost me a parlay at a 6-leg parlay. And I had Oilers money line over the Blackhawks, and they freaking
It
lost.
wasn't they lost to the Blackhawks. They were never in that game against
No, I know. Yeah, it was a 5-2 final, I think. Was that the final of that game? Yeah. Look, I understand like it hasn't looked good so far, but it's the Oilers. They'll figure it out. I'm not worried. And I think, you have to have trust in the Oilers brass. They had a really good offseason. They brought in some new pieces. Maybe it's just taking a little bit longer for them to gel and pick things up. And I think that Edmonton, if things aren't going well, they've been known to make a pretty quick trigger trade to try and help things. I think they could possibly make an early deal to acquire a blue liner if that's what's needed to put this team back into contending mode. I'd be patient with the Oilers. I think they're fine. On the other side, though, you got the Calgary Flames in the Battle of Alberta, 3-0. The Calgary Flames are 3-0. Fraudulent or for real?
I'm so fraudulent on the Flames. Like
Hater.
the first game of the year, I thought they were going to get absolutely dummied by the Canucks, and then went on that incredible comeback, which
Yes.
a little bit maybe to do with the fact that Thatcher Demko wasn't in that.
Yeah, she loves let in every shot possible from like 30 feet out. Yes.
Yeah. So like I think people were expecting the Calgary Flames to be the worst team in the league or in that stretch, or maybe we're a little too hard on them because they still got talented players on this team. If they start selling off like they did last year, then I do expect that to happen. I think there are some players that they could look to trade away. But like Huberdeau's looked better so far to start the year. They still got Rasmus Anderson, who's, a bona fide top 4 guy in this league. Connor Zary, like they're giving the young guys a chance too. Eventually, though, that stuff kind of averages out and teams start to figure it out against Calgary.
Well, and here's one big reason why they're 3-0. I mean, Jonathan Huberdeau's resurgence.
Yeah.
Like, he's got 3 goals. He's got 5 points through the first 3 games. I mean, this is a guy who's been a ghost for Calgary's first couple of years there. Starting out pretty well. Is that fraudulent or is that for real, this Huberdeau resurgence?
No, I think this is for real. I think like it's taken him some time to, I think, accept, maybe he's not the Hart Trophy candidate that we saw a few years ago in Florida, but he wasn't also as bad as we thought before either. I think there was a confidence issue, and I think he's a player that he has to make others better around him, and once they do, then things start to happen for him. The fact that he has 3 goals is probably surprising because he's not known as a goal scorer, but I just think the Flames have probably put some better pieces around him to be successful. I know he's played with good players in the past, but I think for him, I think if the Flames are going to be somewhat competitive, it could be because Huberdeau is playing to his potential.
All right, last one for you, Dave. I agree. Actually, I think that Huberdeau is for real. Is he still chilling in free agency and in fantasy? It might be a worthwhile pickup for our Locked On Leafs fantasy team.
I'll have to take a look.
Yeah, he might be worth a bit of a sniff because I know he went undrafted, We talked about it. We've talked about whether or not he would be a bounce back candidate. And you were not a believer at the time. And you've
No.
come around 3 games in, and all of a sudden, Dave's bought in on the Hubie train. Last one. Are you bought in on the Dylan Guenther train? He ends up with the NHL's first star of the week to open up the season. 5 goals in 4 games? 4 games, I think.
4 games, I believe.
Yeah,
Yeah.
4 games. 5 goals in 4 games to open the year. We wake up this morning. He's currently sitting atop of the NHL goal leader. Probably going to win a rocket at this pace. Yeah, well, certainly at this pace, actually would win a rocket.
Yeah, you would.
5 goals through 4 games. You're looking at what's that, like 100 goals on pace for, give or take. Fraud or for real, Dylan Guenther, not as a 100 goal scorer or as a
As a
as a
I don't know if
runaway
he's a rocket
guy.
guy, but easily 35 to 40 goals for him this year.
Yeah,
Like,
you think that much, eh? You're a believer.
I like Dylan Guenther. Like he was a good prospect. I know they signed to a deal that I was surprised when they signed the deal, but
Yeah,
I watched him play that opening night. Like, the guy's got a wicked shot, and he's going to get every opportunity in Utah to do it. Right? I think this Utah team is. I mean, we know that eventually that team was going to have to start performing, right? And when they actually put a team together and prioritizing building a hockey team and not a retirement team, that was going to be what makes Utah better, right? You get all these top picks, things are eventually going to start turning around. So I do like Dylan Guenther. I think, yeah, maybe eventually these guys go on slumps. It happens, but I think, yeah, 35, 40 goals wouldn't be out of the realm of possibility for him.
Yeah, honestly, I think I agree with you. Like, I think that's about what he is. He's going to contend for 40 goals for a 40 goal season, which is big for a young kid. It's pretty much his first full year in the NHL. Like, he spent half the season last year in the minors in the American League, and then when he came up midway through the season, started to tear it up with the Arizona Coyotes at the time, and now he's picking up right where he left off. He's on a tear to start the season. And I'm with you. I think it's Dylan Guenther is for real. He's a hell of a talented player, hell of a goal scorer. And I think he's going to score a lot of goals this year. I'm with you. I'm jumping on the Dylan Guenther bandwagon. And I think Utah too, like, just really quickly, I think they're for real. Like, I think that Utah is going to be competitive in that in the West over there. And I think they'll be fighting for a playoff spot too. This might be the year that they get over the hump. I believe, especially if Guenther can continue to fill the net the way that he is. Logan Cooley has looked really good. Their goaltender, Connor Ingram, has looked solid so far.
Barrett
So,
Hayden has looked pretty good after many thought he'd
yeah,
be on the move out.
yeah, Barrett Hayden. So, it's a team that's starting to come together, right? They're actually in a building that is not meant for college kids, and they're playing like men, and they're winning games. So, we'll see if it continues. I think it's for real, though. I think they're a good hockey club. Get it? Hockey club? Because they're the Utah
UHC.
Hockey Club. Yeah, I like it. All right, that'll do it for us here today on the podcast. I'd like to thank you all for listening and supporting the show. You can subscribe to the Locked On Leafs podcast on all platforms and receive daily Leafs content. Follow myself on Twitter at Mickey_Canuck. Follow Dave at D_Morassutti, and follow the show as well at Locked On Leafs. We'll be back with another episode for you guys. Tomorrow, we'll preview the Maple Leafs and the LA Kings. Trevor Morris coming to town, ladies and gentlemen. We'll preview that for you tomorrow. Until then, keep it locked right here on Locked On Leafs.